Hey, Life Church. Today I want to spend a few minutes reflecting on the spiritual discipline of fasting and its significance in our spiritual lives. I believe this just might be the single most neglected spiritual discipline, but yet it is something that Jesus expects us to have as part of our lives. In the Sermon on the Mount, right after like we talked Sunday about prayer, the very next subject that Jesus jumps into is this idea of fasting. And he says this in Matthew 16. He says, and when you fast, let's stop there for just a second. It's an expectation that Jesus has for his followers. It's something that he expects us to have as a practice in our lives. He says, and when you fast, do not look gloomy like the hypocrites, for they disfigure their faces, and their fasting may be seen by others. Truly I say to you, they have received their reward. But when you fast, again, there's that expectation. He's driving that point home again. But when you fast, anoint your head and wash your face, that your fasting may not be seen by others, but by your Father who is in secret. And your Father who sees in secret will reward you. Now, fasting. We all kind of know what the concept is, right? And that is to relinquish something. And most of the time, it's associated with food, right? To where we set aside time to where we don't eat. Well, spiritual fasting is more than just setting aside the food. Fasting is a spiritual discipline, though that, like we said, many of us might overlook or find challenging to incorporate into our lives. Yet it holds a profound place in our walk with God. Richard Foster says this, and he offers a powerful insight. He says, more than any other discipline, fasting reveals the things that control us. His words invite us to consider fasting not merely as a physical exercise, but as a deep introspective journey. When we fast, we strip away the layers of comfort and routine, allowing our true spiritual state to surface. This vulnerability can be both uncomfortable and revealing. It is in these moments of discomfort that we encounter our true selves, the areas of our lives that we have allowed to overshadow our relationship with God. So fasting, one of the things it does, fasting reveals who or what is in control of us. If the answer to that question is anything other than God, then adjustments need to be made. Dallas Willard adds another layer to our understanding of fasting when he says this. He says, fasting is feasting. I love it. I love that. It says, fasting is feasting. Feasting on the Word of God, on doing His will, and on His good pleasure. This perspective here shifts our focus from what we are giving up to what we are gaining. When we fast, we create space in our lives to draw close to God. And what we do is we replace that physical nourishment with spiritual sustenance. Our hunger becomes a reminder of our deeper need for God and His Word. Man, that's incredible. So number one, fasting reveals who or what is in control. And number two, fasting reminds us of what we have in our relationship with God. It refocuses things. It puts Him back in the center of things. And it gets us to a point to know His heart for us. Church, fasting is something that isn't just going to happen. Fasting is something, if this is going to be a spiritual practice in our lives, in your life, in my life, it means that we're going to have to make some plans for that. So what does that look like for you? I know for me, there's been times whenever I've fasted. There's times that I've set aside in the past. But I'll admit to you, it's one of these spiritual practices that have not been in a regular routine in my life like it should. And as your pastor, I've got to be better in that area. And I want to encourage you in the same way to walk with me to be better. Because like we said, this is something that Jesus expects of His followers. So look at your life. Is there a breakfast? Is there a lunch? Is there dinner on a regular basis to where you could set aside, push everything else aside, and just and push away that food, push away the things that distract us, and just spend that time with Him. Spend that time in His Word, allowing Him to feed us, allow Him to be our nourishment, revealing the things that need, what is controlling us and what needs to go away, and just delighting in Him. Realizing we have everything we need in Him. Fasting. So how is it with you in your life? How is that with you? Let's make this a part of let's make this a spiritual discipline that is a regular part of our lives.